Don Tapscott, we have a large audience of entrepreneurs. In your global revolution, in this age of network intelligence, what can the entrepreneur do? An entrepreneur perhaps who is founding a business out of their basement or out of their garage. What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, there are a lot more of them, and that's a good thing because 80% of jobs, new jobs, come from companies that are less than 5 years old. There are also a lot more entrepreneurs because of so-called youth unemployment, the jobless recovery. Well, 23% of youth in the United States are unemployed, 40% in Spain. So young people are deciding, I'm going to become an entrepreneur because I have to. It's sort of necessity is the mother of invention here. The good news is that little companies can have all the capability of big companies now without the main liabilities, deadening bureaucracy, legacy technology, cultures, processes, and so on. And talent doesn't have to be inside your boundaries anymore. Talent can be outside. I mean, you may remember that story originally from Wikinomics, where a relatively small gold mining company was taken over by this guy named Rob McEwen. I know this story because the guy's my neighbor. And his geologist couldn't tell him where the gold was, so he'd give them more money. They couldn't tell him where to go into production. He was so frustrated, he was ready to give up on his little venture here. But then one day he had a revelation. He wondered, well, if my geologists don't know where the gold is, maybe somebody else does. So he does this radical thing. He takes his geological data, the biggest secret, publishes it, holds a contest on the internet called the Gold Corp Challenge, $500,000 for anybody who can tell me, do I have any gold? And if so, where is it? He gets 77 submissions from all around the world. They use techniques that he's never heard of, and for his $500,000 in prize money, he finds $3.4 billion worth of gold. And the market value of his company goes from tens of millions to actually about $10 billion in market value. So he's an entrepreneur who harnessed the power of the internet as a global collaborative platform, and he increased the value of his company by at least 2 orders of magnitude. So you can see that happening in every part of the economy, regardless of what area of entrepreneurship you're pursuing.
Isn't there a problem, though? You've said the world is broken, and what you're describing is the world reinventing itself. You make it sound easy, but for many young people who don't have work, reinventing themselves is very hard, and starting a company requires a great deal of diligence and willingness to gamble dramatically. What advice would you give those people who are nervous, who understand your message, who understand that they have to reinvent themselves, but who are struggling to do so?
Well, I don't want to say it's easy because it's tough. It's hard to get venture capital right now. It's almost an oxymoron. Banks are not lending money, so you're not going to be able to get a line of credit to cover your receivables. But most money for startups comes from friends and family. So, and the other thing is you don't need $1 million to start a company now. You need a lot less. And in some cases, if you can get an initial flow of cash, you can do it without borrowing money or even getting an investment. And that's always the best. Well, it's often the best way because it means that you own the company and you can control your destiny. I don't know. I would say to a young person, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I was just actually having a coffee yesterday with a young woman in her 20s. One of the people that I'm working with on this whole sort of MacroWikinomics project, and she's decided to leave the company she was working for and to start up her own venture. And she's decided she can see little sources of revenue here and there to get things going. And she decided, what the heck? I've only got one life, and I might as well try and do something with it. My life is not some kind of rehearsal. This is the real a deal. And maybe I can live a consequential life. You want to live your life by principles, but you also want it to be a life of consequence where you can make a real difference. And being a cog in someone else's machine is not necessarily the most effective way to do that.